Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for the preparation of civil services examination will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 6th of December. The first important news that is Prime Minister seeks cooperation for G20 Presidency from all parties in India. Second, Fisherfolk protesting for the Vizhinjam Port project. Third, Sri Lanka seeks India help to boost dairy output. Fourth, India pitches for SDG Digital Public at G20 Sirpas. And the last is an editorial climate talks as shortchanging international laws. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. Starting the session with the first news of the day, that is Prime Minister seeks cooperations for the G20 Presidency, something important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic that is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from its design and implementations. Recently, the Prime Minister has chaired the all-party meeting to underscore the significance of India's presidency of G20 in a brief leader about the government approach. गवर्नमेंट की क्या अप्रोच है, किस तरह से मीटिंग होनी है, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की क्या प्रायोरिटीज हैं, इनके बारे में स्टेट के साथ कोऑर्डिनेशन करके मीटिंग की गई है. राइट, noting that India's G20 presidency is an honor for our country and every Indian citizen should take part in this pride, the Prime Minister sought the cooperation from all political parties for its success and terms basically जितने भी stakeholders इससे concerned हैं उन सारे लोगों से मदद की अपील की गई है. The Prime Minister noted that India's G20 presidency is an honor for the country, something every Indian should be proud. And he said that G20 presidency is not just an honor to any particular individual, but or political party, it is for the entire nation. India's evolving G20 priorities की अगर बात करें, India's G20 presidency will definitely hope to strengthen, direct a new perspective for G20 discussion, but कुछ ऐसे बड़े subject हैं, diverse subjects हैं, जिन पे priority इंडिया को देनी है. The first is the green development. Second is lifestyle for the environment, digital transformation, inclusive and resilient growth, and women-led development. The greater voice for Global South in the issues of international economic growth and cooperations are also something that is required as a 21st century institutional reform. Now, India formally assumed the G20 presidency on 1st of December 2022. India ने position ली, presidency ली from Indonesia, and this will continue till November 2023. Right? The G20 or G20 is a group of intergovernmental forum for the world major developed and developing economies, and G20 member account for around 85% of the global GDP, 75% of global trade, and about 2/3 of the world population. So this is a factual information that even you can use in the mains paper. Now, this is the official logo that India has released. Bharat 2023 or India, Vasudev Kundukam, one earth, one family, one future. Moving to the second news of the day, that is the Fisherfolk protesting in the Vizhinjam Port project. Something important for General Studies Paper 3, that is conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation, and EIA. Now, बात करें Vizhinjam Port की, this has been in the boil for the past month, which protested mainly the Fisherfolks, जिसे मछुआरा भी कहते हैं, has been and their families laying siege to under construction Vizhinjam Port, and the concern has been raised regarding the coastline decline. There are several other issues that is lingering around this project. The protester has been demanding the halting of the construction, which is led by Adani Vizhinjam Port Private Limited. Now you can see the location, significant location, and this is something which is going to be India's largest port. This is what the Adani port has claimed, that this will be the India's largest port, which will provide an endeavor and it will ensure that जो लार्ज बड़े कंटेनर्स होते हैं उनको यहाँ पे फिजिकली होल्ड किया जा सके या इनको यहाँ पे पार्क किया जा सके. Now, why there is a protest? Why the protester is protesting and what are their demands? So, according to the protester, the port work has aggregated the coastal erosion along the coast of Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. This is there in the Kerala. The protester has raised 7 demands, which include scientific study and assessment of the impact of the port work on the shoreline after stopping the construction of the port. Further, कुछ ऐसे 300 families हैं along the coastline that is shifted to the relief camp after their house were destroyed due to high intensity coastal erosion. तो coastal erosion की वजह से कई ऐसे घर हैं आसपास के जो लोग हैं उनकी भी डेथ पे रिपोर्ट की गई. The protesters demand a comprehensive rehabilitation package for the fisherfolk in the region, assured a minimum wages when the sea turns rough due to the inclement weather, and subsidized kerosene oil for the boats. Now, construction and coastal erosions की अगर बात करें, how exactly, what are the consequences which actually take place? So, all type of construction work along the coast aggravate the soil erosion, that is the loss of beach, and exertion, that is the loss or gain of the beach. Now, any structure has to be like ground, seawall, or breakwater. Intense erosion is one of the main site assertion on Earth. Coastal erosion is dominant in all coastal district of Kerala, and it is more basically prominent in the region of Thiruvananthapuram. A study that was conducted by the National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management and Society for Integrated Social Management, even the Ministry of Environment was also the part of the study. They found that the erosion is minimum in the Thrissur district in Kerala, this is 1.5%, and it is maximum at the district of Thiruvananthapuram, which is 23% before the port construction. Now, गवर्नमेंट की क्या व्यू पॉइंट है इस चीज को लेकर के, इस प्रोटेस्ट को लेकर के, इस पूरी प्रोजेक्ट को लेकर के, जैसे अडानी लेड पोर्ट डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटीज कर रही हैं. The Kerala government has made it clear that since the coastal erosion is due to the climate change, and it is reported that various agencies climate for stopping and port construction cannot be coincided. Officials have argued that the Vizhinjam Port or the seaport is being constructed along the natural sediment of the sill. It's like a pocket area which is interrupted to the movement of the sand along and caused due to the significantly affecting the adjacent coastline. But environmentalist का कहना है कि इसके repercussions longer term में काफ़ी ज़्यादा होंगे और इस तरह के जो areas हैं वो construction के लिए बिल्कुल भी suitable नहीं. Now, importance of Vizhinjam Port. Basically, this is located in the southern tip of the Indian Peninsula, just 10 nautical miles from the international sea route. This is the most significant part. इंडिया में कोई भी ऐसी पोर्ट नहीं बनी है जो इतने ज़्यादा क्लोज हो, राइट? एंड इवन ईस्ट विद शॉपिंग एक्सेस विद नेचुरल वाटर डेप्थ मोर देन 20 मीटर with a nautical mile of the coast. So Vizhinjam Port is likely to be pivotal in maritime development and even for the development of Kerala as particular. The port is expected to leverage the growth of minor port in Kerala and another region, creating a thousand of employment opportunities in that particular district or area. The port is expected to complete and even compete with the countries like Colombo, Singapore, Dubai for the transshipment traffic. So this will be definitely a game changer. The port is expected to leverage the growth of minor in the Kerala and other regional port, and even the creating thousands of employment opportunities for the youth over there. Geographically, if you look into this perspective, why the development process is very important, you can see the Vizhinjam Port development area over here and has a connectivity to all of the region globally. और कुछ ऐसे कंट्रीज सिंगापुर की बात करें, अगर सी रूट की बात करें, उस हिसाब से ये काफ़ी सिग्निफिकेंट प्रोजेक्ट मानी जा रही है. Now, moving to the other news, Sri Lanka seeks India's help to boost the dairy output, something important for General Studies Paper 2, under the subtopic India and its neighborhood relations. Recently, the Sri Lanka president has sought India's assistance to make local dairy industry self-sufficient and to reduce the import. We have seen that the Sri Lanka has witnessed the worst economic crisis since its independence. काफ़ी worst situation थी, इंडिया ने काफ़ी assistance दी है, उससे उभरने के लिए अब जब वहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट स्टेबल हुई है, वहाँ पे मिल्क की deficiency काफ़ी ज़्यादा नोटिस की गई है. And the reason being the government is importing. Now they want to reduce the import and make Sri Lanka self-sufficient producing country. The reason being they are asking assistance from India. तो श्रीलंका के डिपेंडेंस की बात करें, 300 मिलियन इंपोर्ट करती हैं वो, बेसिकली मिलियन स्पेंड करती हैं जो कि वो इंपोर्ट में लगाते हैं. एंड सेंट्रल बैंक रिस्ट्रिक्ट्स सम ऑफ द डेयरी प्रोडक्ट बिकॉज ऑफ द डॉलर एंड सॉर्टेड स्ट्रैटेजी दिस ईयर, राइट. As a result, the import of dairy products have declined more than 32% to 1.84 million rupees in the first 9 months of this year. This has the world's largest dairy herd as well as the top milk producer and consumer. टेक्निकल असिस्टेंस फ्रॉम इंडिया की अगर बात करें, किस तरह के टेक्निकल असिस्टेंस की बात की जा रही है, ना बिड टू स्केल अप द डेयरी प्रोडक्शंस टू बिकम सेल्फ सफिशिएंट. Sri Lanka has sought technical assistance from India's National Dairy Development Board and market-led Amul, reviving the collaborations with the Iceland attempt in the 1990s, but has failed to take this forward. तो कुछ ऐसी progress पहले नहीं हो पाई. Sri Lanka President has appointed a committee to represent Sri Lanka's public and private sector to work with NDDB and prepare a medium and long-term plan to increase the local milk production and to reduce the country's dependence on the import of milk powder. श्रीलंका डेयरी इंपोर्ट्स के फिगर को अगर देखें, करेंटली श्रीलंका डोमेस्टिक डेयरी प्रोडक्शंस मीट लेस देन हाफ आउट ऑफ इट्स रिक्वायरमेंट एंड द डॉलर स्ट्रैप्ड नेशन has spent close to 300 million annually for the dairy import, mostly from the New Zealand. And as a country, economically thrashed है, economic situation वहाँ पे काफ़ी ख़राब है, forex reserve काफ़ी कम है, and this year leading to severe shortages of the milk powder, which is widely used in Sri Lanka. Fresh milk की unavailability को देखते हुए इस तरह के alternatives form use किए जा रहे हैं. Now, the deal from the New Zealand, apart from India, Sri Lanka is also exploring the greater collaborations from New Zealand, and it's a main source of dairy import for 4 decades. According to the Colombo-based official, New Zealand Dairy Cooperative, that is Fonterra, in recent year has expanded the Sri Lanka business. न्यूजीलैंड की काफ़ी बड़ी कंपनी है फोंटेरा, जो वहाँ के पूरे मिल्क प्रोडक्शंस को हैंडल करती है. एंड इट हैज़ बीन बिल्डिंग पार्टनरशिप विद श्रीलंका फार्मर्स एंड इट्स कंसिडरिंग टू एक्सपैंड this when conditions allow. Now, moving to the other news, India pitches for SDG Digital Public at G20 Sherpas, something important for General Studies Paper 2, that is bilateral regional grouping and agreement involving India and affecting India's interest. So at the first meeting of G20 Sherpas, India recently proposed the Climate Action, Sustainable Development, and in a bid to have a clear-facing emerging economies for the global south, sharp focus on the world stage. तो कुछ important priority areas है जिन पे focus करनी है, उसके बारे में बात की गई है. That include technological transformation in the digital economy, health and education, green development, and LIFE initiative, that is India's Lifestyle for Environment initiative, which was a part of basically announcement that Prime Minister of India has made during the COP26 meeting. The Sherpas have expressed a strong support for India presidency and for the high priority that has been outlined. The meeting, the Prime Minister has basically categorically noted that India's presidency would be which would be more inclusive, more ambitious, action-oriented, and decisive in nature. And India's objective is to present its narrative on the global agenda and also highlight the development achievement, tourism potential, and cultural heritage. On the issues of the climate finance, food supply, security, energy prices, and even country can come together. जितने भी G20 के members हैं, वो basically इस पूरे event को successful बनाने में उनकी मदद करेंगे. India's G20 presidency will seek to advocate priorities on developing countries and global south in additional it will form a partnership and grouping which will call for more inclusive, ambitious, action oriented, and decisive decisions. Now, initiative on digital transformations की अगर बात करें, Indian initiative on digital transformation focuses on digital public infrastructure quite a bit. In our experience to create digital identities, bank account for everyone, and this has enabled to lift vast section of population above the poverty line and direct benefit transfer and the fast payments. SEEDPA tracks, what is this? The 4-day gathering SEEDPA tracks has stated that the formal meeting will have dignitaries from 40 countries. This track will set up agenda for G20 leaders in September next year. और कुछ important topics और areas highlight किए गए हैं which include energy, trade and investment, development, employment, tourism, agriculture, digital economy, health, education, culture, environment and anti-corruption. इसके अलावा दो नई ग्रुप्स बनाई गई हैं दैट इंक्लूड द डिजास्टर रिस्क रेजिलिएंट ग्रुप and the startup 20 engagement group that will definitely call for a lot more involvement, a lot more economic development and a lot more employment opportunities. Now, group on agriculture की अगर बात करें, group on agriculture will take about enhancing the food security, nutritional, sustainable agriculture with climate smart approach with the tech digitalization of agriculture, and G20 groups discussion will also have a part on the global economy जहाँ पे कई बार ऐसी देखी गई है कि global rising debt है, runway inflations and slow growth which will be discussed in the SEEDPA track. So these are the major priorities and agenda that has been set for the meeting. Moving to the editorial of the day, that is climate talks as short-changing international law, something important for general studies paper 3 under the subtopic conservation, environmental pollutions, degradation and EIA. So what I'll be discussing in this editorial and what is the exactly theme that has been discussed. The theme for this editorial is equitable sustainable development and environmental laws. Some of the issues that has been discussed in this editorial include the problem with the current climate negotiation, politics not science, differentiated common responsibility, carbon budget, climate justice and the way forward. बात की जाए पब्लिक लॉस की, बेसिकली इस एडिटोरियल में एडिटर ने या राइटर ने ये कंफर्म करने की कोशिश की है कि पब्लिक लॉ एक तरह की फ्रॉड हो गई है बिकॉज डेलिब्रेट अटेम्प्ट्स किए जा रहे हैं कि किस तरह के उसके जो कोर प्रोविजंस हैं वो अपने सूटेबिलिटी के अकॉर्डिंगली उसे चेंज किया जाए, ऑल्टर किया जाए या फिर ऑगमेंट किया जाए. The climate negotiation, for instances, and basically areas of interest for the developing countries are not covered, while the other areas are overregulated. Equitable sustainable development is not even discussed in the recent premise of the meeting that is taking place at the global level. Or COP27 में that has been a concentrated efforts for frontally change the basic structure of climate treaty. तो उसके बारे में जिक्र की गई है किस तरह से क्लाइमेट ट्रीटी हर एक कंट्री अपने अकॉर्डिंगली मोल्ड कर रही है, ना कि सस्टेनेबल एनवायरनमेंट और डेवलपमेंट की तरफ. Now, the problem with current climate negotiation, there has been 3 problems with the current negotiation. First, the citizens in the developed countries are not even aware of 2/3 of their national emissions of the carbon dioxide from their diet, transportation, residential, and commercial sector, which together constitute a measured share of their GDP. Consumption sector are not independent silos but reflect the urban lifestyle. जो second और सबसे बड़ी problem है, that is a process that ignore the global well-being, which follows urbanizations of the developing countries, follows the requiring fossil fuel infrastructure and to energy achieve the level, right? तो कई ऐसे development projects भी हैं जो detrimentals होते हैं environment point of view से. The third is not a vast quantities of cement and steel developing countries for infrastructure constituting essential norms, thereby urbanize is not being considered. Now, politics not science. The title itself means कि साइंस के बैकिंग को बिना ध्यान दिए हुए अपने अपने हिसाब से पॉलिसीज को चेंजेस की जा रही है. The foundations of the climate treaty on international convention laws has said this is questionable and in the Stockholm Conference Environment 1972 में हुई थी, उसमें यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स के जो सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट हैं उन्होंने एडवाइजरी कमेटी से कहा that urbanization has changed the nation with 75% of its people living in the urban area. A scientific committee set up by the US State Department has earlier conducted a long range planning to cope up with the global environment and must take an account for the total ecological burden, controlling the burden system of systematic reduction in the per capita productions of the global services that would be politically unacceptable. Now, differentiated but responsibility जिस तरह से INDC थी इंटेंडेड नेशनल डिटरमिन्ड कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस थी कोप 26 की यहाँ भी कुछ कॉमन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज की बात की गई है द प्रोजेक्ट and the objective of the climate treaty is to avoid the concentration of the cumulative emissions of carbon dioxide, prevent dangerous anthropogenic interferences, climatic system and enable the sustainable economic development. जो पेरिस क्लाइमेट चेंज की अगर बात करें यहाँ पे एक एग्रीमेंट हुई 1.5 डिग्री तक टेम्परेचर ग्लोबल टेम्परेचर मेंटेन करने की इवन विच सम कंट्रीज आर नॉट डूइंग सो. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in 2018 has recommended the emission needed to be zero around 2050, and the global negotiation in the goal to reduce the further emissions is also there. India is also in the league of that, and India has promised that it will reduce its dependence on coal. Carbon budgets की अगर बात की जाए carbon budgets are robust as they estimated accurately from the climate model. The IPCC report in 2018 estimated that the budget for 50% of the changing environment is more than 1.5% warming to be 2,819 million tons of the carbon dioxide, raising the question on how late the developers will attain the comparable level of the well-beings. Climate justice flows follow our negotiation and from the text of the climate treaty. First, the process adopted is the structure of international law. एक ऐसी तरह से historically responsibility को अगर देखें for a continued problem. Steady shifting of the burden to the China and India has been there. Many other countries are responsible for the global high emissions, but उसकी जिम्मेवारी कहीं ना कहीं एशिया पैसिफिक में चाइना और इंडिया पे लगाई. Second, the agenda was set for the globalization material follow the described global warming, that is a symptom, and not a wasteful use of the energy. Third, the public finance is used to means to secure the political objective and not to solve the problem. 100 billion corpus बनाने की बात की गई थी पेरिस क्लाइमेट चेंज में by the pre-2020 commitments, but again इसमें materialistic results नहीं आए हैं. और इस बार की जो कोप 26 की मीटिंग हुई है 27 exactly, इसमें loss and damage fund बनाई गई है which is again a mosaic of the solution which is not again a full-fledged solution. Fourth, long-term trends has been ignored. 1/6 of the global populations of the developed countries said 2035 still be 30% and Asia emissions is half of the world population which will rise by 40% remaining within the carbon budget. Now the way forward, इंडिया की सबसे बड़ी इनिशिएटिव जो कोप 26 में ली गई दैट इज द lifestyle for environment within the individual shifting from for the wasteful consumption of the natural resources goes back to the original science and consumption based forming challenges from the universalism that is dominated to the negotiation and its path towards reducing the single models. The carbon budget formalizes the diversity in this solution. So we have to make our environmental changes, the lifestyle changes, the basic changes that is helping in getting a sustainable life, sustainable environment, and sustainable earth. Moving ahead with the MCQ questions of the day, before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday's questions. For first question, the correct option is B. For second question, the correct answer is C. Today's MCQ for practice, आपको नेशनल मिशन मॉनसून मिशन के बारे में बताना है. दिस इज launched by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. It's a state-of-art dynamic portal predictions for the short range, medium and long range forecasters. So do check it out for the correct option. Second is Amal Hope has been recently conducted by which among the following countries? Iran, UAE, Pakistan or Sri Lanka. So do check it out for the correct option. This type of question practicing will definitely help you and give you an edge over the upcoming prelims examination. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.